Good evening, Dhamma friends. Welcome back to day 4 of the Sutta Study conducted by BMB. And today we will be going to discuss another section of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. We will be learning the most important, I would say, the section of the Sutta. Perhaps the most important, I would say, aspect of the Buddhist path. So before we get started, we will be paying homage to the Buddha 3 times as a respect for his teachings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. First we have to look at the text. I think we left up at the Atta Kilamatanu Yoga, self-modification, last Monday. For the newcomers, I would say that you could check the notes. We have been giving notes from day 2. Day 1 is just an introduction of the whole sutta. So the notes are important. At the same time, I think you are still at the beginning, so you could catch up with the class. So I don't think it's a problem. So what we did was we discussed about the background of the sutta. This is the first sutta that was given by the Buddha. And we also discussed why it was going to Samyutta Nikaya, right? Why it was actually given in the Samyutta Nikaya was that it is not a matter of seniority, but a matter of collection. I would say lineage of oral tradition, right? So the suttas do not come in a senior level, I would say in a chronological order. So they have been coming down to us orally. So the monks thought there would be better ways to orally memorize. So the longer suttas came first, and then the middle level suttas, middle length, and then the numerical ones, and then collections. Like this is in one of the collections, we call it Satcha Samyutta. Samyuttas, Satcha, collection of the truths. That's why we had to be very careful, when we read suttas, we don't know the purpose, we don't know the context, background that is going within the sutta. They were primarily set up in a way how to memorize, for mnemonic ease, for the ease of memorization. If you start from Digha Nikaya to Khuddaka Nikaya, you may get stuck. You may run into a problem. So that's why you have to learn under a certain guidance. And we discuss the background, and then we discuss the 2 extreme ends that the Buddha asks us to abandon. We should not use them for our spiritual journey, Dhamma journey, not even on the path to Nibbana, but also in our daily life. And those 2 extremes are Kama Sukhallikkhana Yoga, clinging to the 5 aggregates. That is how we explain. It's not normally translated that way. They normally translate sensual indulgence like this. People don't know what is that. Where is the thin line? Where we draw the line between karma and extreme karma? And we discuss this in a more specific terms. We said this is clinging to the 5 aggregates. That means you can enjoy karmas without clinging to the 5 aggregates. We had to, I would say, separate out karmas and then extreme karmas. And then we discuss about self-modification, Atta Kilamatana Yoga, giving pain to the body in search of the happiness. The Buddha said, dukkha to sukha is not possible. From sukha to a higher level of sukha is possible. Right? That is how the Buddha says. Do not think that dukkha will give you any happiness. So your sila should not be a dukkha. That is what I want to say that day. Because sila is what people have to torture a lot. I can't do this, I cannot do this, I cannot go there. This demarcation has to be understood in a way, in a wholesome, comfortable way. The Buddhist sila is not an extreme thing. It's not like the Jains one. Jains one, yes. They were extremely careful about some. We are careful too. But we are wisely careful. We are not simply careful. So the Buddha says, our sila practice is what will turn into an extreme end like Atta Kilamatana Yoga. We have to be very careful. We should know why do we practice sila. There is a purpose. Thereby we should not end up in sila. We have to carry forward to the samadhi and then end up in panya. It's a threefold training. Should not end up in one place. That's what we discussed. So today we are entering into the path that was told by the Buddha, middle path, Majjhima Patipada. I usually recite and then let the participant to pronounce, I would say articulate, so that we understand whether they also have the capability of reading rather than just listening to a monk. Okay, I listen to the chanting, right? So both will work. Let me recite. Majjhima Patipada. Ete te bhikkhave. I will give you a chance to pronounce. So just first listen and how I'm going to read. Don't be hard. Ete te bhikkhave ubho. See, bhikkhave ubho. Not ubo, not bhikkhave. Bhikkhave ubho. Ante anupagam majjhima. Not majjhima. Majjhima patipada. Tathāgatena abhi sambuddha chakku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhiññāya, not abhiññāya, abhiññāya sambuddhāya nibbānāya samvattati katamāca sā bhikkhave majjhima patipada. Then again, a lot of repetitions happening in the suttas. I will tell you the reason later. Katamacha sa bhikkhave majjhima patipada tathāgatena abhi sambuddha chakku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhiññāya sambuddhāya nibbānāya samvattati. Ayang eva Ariyo. In some texts, some of the Burmese, Thai texts, Siamese texts, they say Ayameva. But you say Ayang eva Ariyo Attangiko Maggo. Attangiko Maggo. Attangiko Maggo. Seyatidang. Samma Ditti. Samma Sankappo. Samma Vacha. Samma Kammantu. Samma Ajivo. Samma Vayamo, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. Then again the repetition. Ayang ko sa bhikkhave majjhima patipada tathāgatena abhi sambuddha chakku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhiññāya sambuddhāya nibbānāya samvattati. Do not bother about the repetitions. Repetitions were given in a sense because at that time, especially in some other suttas, Buddha says when somebody is reading couple times, that can, give a better understanding to that person. But these are repetitions. So when you understand the sutta, you know that these are repetitions. And I only try to understand the most important parts. someone in the first row, if you can see the text, if you could read, yeah, if you could recite, maybe we can go row by row, right? Please, from 7 to 10. Anybody? A little louder, please. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So from 12 to maybe 14, the next row. Okay. So let's look at the translation. Etete bhikkhave. Bhikkhave means, I would say, bhikkhus. Etete ubho ante anupagam. Ubho ante. Ubho means two. Ante means extremes. Anupagam, not having approach, I would say not having pursuit. Then Majjhima Patipada. Majjhima Patipada means the middle path, the Noble Eightfold Path. The path was detailed in couple words. Abhisambuddha, Chakku Karane, Jnana Karane, Upasamaya, Abhinyaya, Sambudaya, Nibbanaya, Sangvatthi. We have to understand these words differently. Tathagata. Tathagata is another word for the Buddha. What does it mean? What does Tathagata mean? Okay, that's a literal translation. Yeah, I mean, that is what we can see in the books. Tathagata. Gata means gone, yeah, true. But what is Tatha? Tatha means the truth. The one who has come to the truth. Tatha, another word for the truth, Satya. We can say thus gone, but we don't know what does that thus mean, you know. Yeah, see, Tatha means the truth. The one who has come to the truth. Okay, Abhisambuddha means awaken. Then Chakku Karani. Now, what has happened to the Buddha with the awakening? The awakening is conducive, is leading to the rise of Chakku. Chakku means eye. Chakku means eye. But what kind of eye does it talk about here? Is it just that opening the eyes? This naked eye? Dhamma eye. Because somewhere in this sutta, at the end of this sutta, it says Dhammacakku. Dhammacakku. Konnanja, the Bhante Konnanja's Dhammacakku arose. So Dhammacakku is not the naked eye. We all have the naked eye. Naked eye is always carried away by objects. Right? The things that we like. Not we like, eyes like. But we give some mentality. So when you have Dhammacakku, everything is processed through Dhamma. Right? That means when you attain Sotapanna, everything is gone through, not just the naked eye. There is another layer inside the naked eye, that is Dhammacakku. Right? So that Dhammacakku is what this awakening has brought to the Buddha. Then Jnana Karani. Jnana. What does Jnana mean here? Knowledge. This is what he says, gives rise to knowledge. Jnana. What does jnana mean? Knowledge. Is it? Now we are trying to look at some contextual meaning, not the literal meaning. These are the translations that I saw on online. So, jnana means knowledge. Knowledge? You all have knowledge. So, what does jnana mean? Have you ever heard this term? Probably I can write it here. I don't have diacritical marks, so I can't do that, but I will. This one. Yatha bhuta jnana dassana. Has anyone found this word anywhere in the text? Yatha bhuta jnana dassana. Seeing things as they are. In other words, in modern words, in modern Burmese Satipatthana version, vipassana. Right? They call it vipassana. But in the text it says, yatha bhuta jnana dassana, seeing things as they are. This is what we call by yatha bhuta jnana. So that jnana means that particular seeing, being able to see anything in that objective way. But sadly, what happens to us is that we are seeing things as we are, not they are. So we don't have that jnana here, right? So jnana means that seeing based on that objective form of that particular thing, event, right? Let's take a very practical example. Someone is coming to you and blaming you. Someone is criticizing you. You are so upset about it, right? Maybe you haven't done that bad thing or something. Maybe you are blamed for nothing, right? But you know that you haven't done anything wrong. You don't need to defend, maybe, unless it is very necessary. So you are not bothered by that. Like the Buddha. Buddha did not take any revenge, not pass the same thing to the person. When people blame him, he was silently going through that moment, and once they stopped, he normally may have asked a counter question. He did not react, rather he responded. That means he was not looking at it from a subjective way. And you blame me thinking, right? This me thinking is the problem here, right? So, but if you look at the event, any incident that happens to you, that is happening to you from an objective way, that means you have yatha bhuta jnana dassana at least to a certain level. So jnana means then not knowledge, but although you can translate, jnana means being able to see things as they are. That is jnana, right? All right, see the problems, huh? So this awakening is conducive to the arising of the Dhammacakku, and conducive to the arising of the, what you call, jnana. This jnana means seeing things as they are. Upasamaya. When you chant Bojjhanga Suttas, right? How many Bojjhangas are there in the Bojjhanga Suttas? 4 Bojjhangas? 7. Can you name what they are? Why do we chant Bojjhangas? When someone is sick, going through a hard time, then we normally chant Bojjhangas. Because the 3 Bojjhanga Suttas were chanted to 2 Arahants, and then finally to Buddha himself. Once Arahant Mahakashyapa smelled something in the forest, so he got sick. He smelled, and then the Buddha came to see him, and then he chanted the Maha Kassapattera Bojjhanga, right? And then he was able to get back to normal. Then once Arahant Mahamoggallana was sick for a similar reason, then Buddha again came, and then he chanted the Bojjhanga Sutta. At the end, he was able to get back to normal. Then once Buddha was sick, Shakyamuni Buddha, because he is still carrying a physical body, right? He was sick. Then he asked Monk Chunda to recite the Bojjhangas. He was able to get back to normal. But he had some sansaric health problems too, which he could not overcome too. Yeah. But this was a very little, I would say, issue that he had. So what are the Bojjhangas? Sati, Dhammavicaya, Viriya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, Upekka. So these are the elements of the awakening. When someone attains Nibbana, maybe a Pacceka Buddha, maybe the Samma Sambuddha, their awakening consists of 7 I would say constituents. Those who have not attained Nibbana, they have 5 constituents. What are they called? Pancha Nivarana. We have Pancha Nivarana unless you have not attained Nibbana. Our life is considered of Kamachanda, sensual desire, Vyapada, ill will, Tina Midda, sloth and torpor, Uddhaca Kukkuca, restlessness and remorse or regret, and then Vicikicca, doubt. We don't say that we always have these things. These are coming and going away, come and go. But they don't have those 5. Once they attain Nibbana, what they have are Bojjhangas, 7 Bojjhangas. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is that you see a Bojjhanga called Passaddhi. What does Passaddhi mean? Passaddhi means composure, mental composure. There are a lot of translations. Tranquility. So Upasamaya means awakening is conducive to the tranquility, peace. Not RIP, huh? This is something much broader than RIP, Upasamaya. Then Abhinyaya. Abhinyaya means conducive to the direct knowledge. Again, you can see Jnana. So every Arahant is acquiring, entering into special knowledges. Asavakkaya Jnana, the knowledge of eradicating all the asavas or kilesa, that is one abhinya. And then, what are the other abhinyas? There are pancha abhinyas, 5 or 6 abhinyas. They can read the mind of others. Is it called telepathy? Something like that. They are able to read others' mind. Even some Indian ascetics can read that mind. In Himalayas, some of the ascetics, they can read the mind because they attain some of the stages. But it's an expiring stage. When you have samatha, it can expire. But when an arahant is at that level, their telepathy is everlasting. Cheto pariyaya. Then Dibba Chaku, they can hear anything that is happening across the universe. They can see anything that is happening everywhere in the world. So these are, do not think they are going to be a little, different. But Abhinya means awakening allows the Buddha here or somebody to experience the direct knowledges. Then Nibbanaya. Nibbanaya means, what is Nibbana? Some people say salvation, redemption. These are Christian words. They are not appropriate at least in the Buddhist sense. We don't have a salvation. Nobody is going to give us salvation. So I would say Nibbana means extinguishment or blowing out the fires that arise through the kilesas, because we are always in fire, right? So we are going to blow out the fires that are arising because of the kilesas. It is a permanent extinguishment. Even fire brigade cannot do that. These fires cannot be extinguished by the fire brigade. These are actually happening all the time. Head to toe, toe to head, everywhere in our mentality. So Nibbana means extinguishment. Remember, when Prince Siddhartha was seen by a lady called Kisa Gotami, she predicted something in a verse. Remember that? When he was in the lay form, he said, Nibbuta anuna sa mata, Nibbuta anuna so pita, and so forth. So the mother of this particular young man should be already extinguished. Nibbuta, that is a past participle in Pali grammar of Nibbana. PP, past participle. It comes from Nibbana. So the one who gave birth to this particular young man should be already extinguished. Peaceful. Then the father, then the spouse, the wife, So Nibbutta, that means that come from Nibbana. So that is a permanent extinguishment, right? All right, so the middle path that was found upon by the Shakyamuni Buddha in terms of his awakening is conducive to the Dhammacakku, then to the Vipassana, what do you call Vipassana perspective, I would say, seeing things as they are perspective, and then for the tranquility or the peace, for gaining high knowledges, and Sambodhaya means full awakening. Sambodha is only Sambodhi, it is only for the Samma Sambuddhas, and Nibbanaya to the Nibbana. Katamacha sa bhikkhave majjhima patipada. What is that middle path, monks? Tathagatena sambuddha, the same thing follows. I'm not going to read that part. Ayameva ariyo attangiko maggo sayatide. It is this noble path which has 8 components, factors, right? They are Sammaditthi, right view. Is Samma right? What could be a good translation? Is Samma right? It cannot be. Samma could be very wholesome view, but people don't understand when you say wholesome view, right? Because right and wrong, they are normally taken from a, secular point of view. Could be, you could be wrong, you could be right, right? So right is not always wholesome, right? Isn't it? Somebody grabs some hunting guns and go for hunting, and he can legally hunt animals over there, right? But it's not wholesome, right? Somebody can officially go do fishing. It is legal in some places, but it's not wholesome. But we use right just to understand. But the bigger meaning is wholesome. You are not creating lobha, dosa and moha, right? Akusalas. We just follow the convention. We have to follow, right? Sammaditthi, right view. Samma sankappa, right intention or thought. Samma vacha, right speech. Samma kammanta, right action. Samma ajiva, right living. Samma vayama, right effort. Samma sati, right mindfulness. Samma samadhi, right concentration. All right. Let's step out of the text. Notes. All right. So, the Noble Eightfold Path has been misunderstood by many. Why do I say so? If you can remember, this text from somewhere, Satipatthana Sutta. Ekayano ayang bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhiya soka paridevanang samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanang attangamaya nyayassa adhigamaya nibbanassa satchikiriyaya yadidang chattaru satipatthana. With this statement, there is a doctrinal conflict, teaching conflict within the text, if you have noticed that. What does it mean? Satipatthana Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 10. This is the only way, monks, for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the destruction of suffering or dukkha and grief domanassa, for reaching the right path, for the attainment of Nibbana, namely the 4 establishments or arousing of mindfulness. Now mindfulness seems to have taken over the only path. All right. How is this going to be in conflict with the Noble Eightfold Path? Noble Eightfold Path is the only path. That is the highest path. How come then there is this teaching in the Satipatthana Sutta? This is a further clarification. Satipatthanas are under the Noble Eightfold Path and not above the Noble Eightfold Path. So the mindfulness teachers do not make this as a point, because mindfulness has been more popular than the Noble Eightfold Path. They have strip out the mindfulness from the Noble Eightfold Path and make it as a, retreat practice only. So let's go to the top. Look at this Dhammapada stanza, 273. Magga nattangiko setto, Magga nattangiko setto, Saccha nang chaturu pada, Virago setto dhammanang, Dvipadanang cha chakkuma. Of all the paths, the eightfold path is the best. Of all the truths, the Four Noble Truths are the best. Of all things, passionless is the best. Of men, the seeing one, the Buddha is the best. So this means the Noble Eightfold Path is the highest and the direct path to attain the Nibbana. Once again, let's go down. Dhammapada 274. Esova maggo nattanyo dassanassa visuddhya. Etang hitum he patipacchata. Marasetang pamohana. This is the only path. There is none other for the purification of insight. Walk this path and you will bewilder Mara. So this is the only path which the Mara cannot see you. Mara can trace all the other paths. Right? Now I can show you the Satipatthana Sutta version. So here, although textually ekayano ayam bhikkhave maggo, right? Even though it is said this is the only, but it is not the only one, because it's a set of 8 factors. You can't practice Satipatthanas without the rest of the Noble Eightfold Path factors. If you do that, you will run into a difficulty. That is an incomplete teaching. You have to start from Samaditi, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. That is Satipatthanas, and Samma Samadhi. That has to be emphasized. As you can see, the Noble Eightfold Path expands between right view and right concentration. And you see the 2 extremes on the both sides, Atta Kilamatana Yoga and Kamasukallikana Yoga. But there are 3 things that you may have not very much noticed when you discuss the Noble Eightfold Path. What are they? These 3 disciplines, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Probably you may have not paid enough attention to these 3. And also these 3 things on the other side, right view, right effort, right mindfulness. What are they? In order for you to practice any path factor, say for instance Samma Samadhi, say for instance Samma Sankappa, maybe Samma Vacha, maybe Samma Kammanta, maybe Samma Vayama, maybe Samma Ajiva, maybe Samma Sati, maybe Samma Samadhi. In order for you to practice each path factor, you must particularly utilize Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. Otherwise, you are not practicing each path factor completely. How is it going to work? Let's say right view, the starting point. Now, what do we need at the beginning for any path factor? Now, in the case of right view, Sammaditi, there is a Micchaditi. So, how do I separately identify this is Sammaditi, this is Micchaditi? How do I know it? Then I have to be backed up by right view again. Right view helps us to separately understand this is right view, this is wrong view. Let's take Samma Sankappa. How do I understand this is right Sankappa, intention or thought? Then right view helps me to separate out, this is right Sankappa, this is wrong Sankappa. In the same way, in order to understand the Samma side and Miccha side, you must use right view all throughout the path factors. That's number 1. Just because you find out the difference, this is Samma, this is Miccha, can you still go ahead? No. You need energy, effort, so that we have to use right effort. Let's say now I know this is Miccha, this is Samma, but in order for me to work on it, work toward the practice, I need some energy, effort. This is called Samma Vayam. So Samma Vayam is the second supporting path factor. Sammaditi is the first supporting path factor 1. Now, Do I have an easy way to practice these path factors? Not exactly. Then I have to pick up the right moment. Let's say when I run into Michchaditti, how do I spot that out right away? How do I find it right away? Then I should need mindfulness. It is a supervisor here. But mindfulness cannot alone do the job. It needs right view and right energy. Right? So none of these things are not standalone practices. They are all together. It's a combined practice, integrated practice. All right? So let's take one other example. Right speech. Samma vacha. Then what do we need now? We need right view to find out, this is bad speech, this is good speech. Samma. So how do I do that? With right view. Then, will I speak good words just because I stay here? No, I have to use some energy. When people blame me, I have to channel my energy into a good side. Then that means I have to come up with samma vayam. Otherwise I can't do it. I will understand it, but I can't do it. No energy. Very lazy to do that. Just because I have energy and I identify, I differentiate these two, can I still go ahead? No. I have to particularly pick up the right points, the time, situation through the samma sati in order to interact with that particular situation. In the same way, these three supporting path factors are mandatory. The Buddha says in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. I think I will be teaching from that too. It's going to be, Majjhima Nikaya 117. This sutta says, I actually designed this through the things from the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. The sutta says that every path factor has to be practiced, cannot be practiced without these three. How many of you have known to this teaching before? Did you always think that I just do samma ditthiya, I just do samma sankappa, I just do samma vacha? Is it what you already knew on to your mind before? That's why. All these path factors should be practiced with these three. And each path factor has its own contents too. With the support of these three, one has to work on the individual context of that particular path factor. That they are what we will be learning in the next couple of weeks. Because we only do the introduction today. From next week onwards, we pick up one path factor. Samma ditti one day, samma sankappa one day. So we'll go 8 days. All right. Any questions up to this point?
Yeah, Bhante, I'm just trying to understand the right view. That means if I have right action, right living, right effort, I still need to have right view.
Not even right view. Right view, right effort, right mindfulness.
Or wholesome, like what you say. I now feel wholesome is a better choice than right. Okay. So the same thing, if I have the right effort, right mindfulness, right concentrate, I still need to have the right view. Is that what I see. So the same thing, right effort, right mindfulness.
Now there are two ways to practice. First, you have to practice one by one. When you are skilled enough, then you practice simultaneously. Right? Now, all you are newbies, so you are learning. At this point, you can imagine that you are going to practice one by one through the support of those three. All right, so let's proceed. And you can see there are two more path factors at the end. Can you see them? In green color, right knowledge, right release. What are they? Have you ever heard that there is the Noble Eightfold Path, which has 8 path factors, and there is the Noble Tenfold Path? What is that? That means people like us, sorry?
For Arahants.
For Arahants are those who have finished the journey, the discipline. They also should practice till they die. Their practice has 2 more additional path factors. They are the ones in green color. Right knowledge, Samma Jnana, Samma Vimutti. Can we understand them now? We are not able to understand them because this Jnana is particular to the Yatha Bhuta Jnana Dassana, because they know what is the opposite of the Yatha Bhuta Jnana Dassana. And then release, Samma Vimutti. Even in other religions, they release things. Even in other XYZ religions, they release. They think, now we are released. So there is a Miccha version, wrong version of release. But Arahants know the proper release. So they practice 2 more path factors. That is why their path factors are 10. They also practice these 8, but little differently. But we practice in the general way. When we end up with concentration properly, then we can become an Arahant one day. Then when we practice the path, we will practice as the 10-fold noble path. Alright, that is number 1. Number 2, how does the noble eightfold path lead to awakening? Now this is a quote that I took from Nagara Sutta Samyutta Nikaya. I would read a little faster. It is just as if a man traveling along a wilderness track were to see an ancient path, an ancient road, traveled by people of former times, he would follow it. Following it, he would see an ancient city, an ancient capital, inhabited by people of former times, complete with parks, groves, and ponds, wall, delightful. He would go to address the king of the king's minister, saying, Sire, you should know that while traveling along a wilderness track, I saw an ancient path. I followed it. I saw an ancient city, an ancient capital. The idea is that the finding of the Noble Eightfold Path is not an innovation. It was already there. It's like a buried city. The Buddha says, many people have followed this path. See, in the same way, I saw an ancient path, an ancient road traveled by the rightly self-awakened ones, former Samma Sambuddhas, former times. That path is what we call by, see, just this Noble Eightfold Path. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right living, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This is the ancient path, ancient road traveled by Samma Sambuddhas. I followed that path. Then what happens to him? Following it, I came to direct knowledge, abhinya, of aging and death. Now the Samma Sambuddha came to the direct knowledge about the aging and death, jara and marana. Do we have a direct knowledge about the aging and death? No, we just simply know the convention. That's why we are very worried about even hearing that word. Getting old, that word, a lot of people hate that word, dislike it even, talking about it. Marana is such a very total disaster, like we don't even talk about it, a lot of people. Direct knowledge of the origination of aging and death, cessation, right, leading to the cessation of all that. So in the same way, he came to understand birth, becoming, clinging, craving, feeling, right? I followed that path. That means this Noble Eightfold Path is not an innovative path. This was already there, but he refound it. Okay, this is a very interesting part. Order of practice. How do we practice? Where do we start this practice? Right? Can we go to the third one and practice the third one and come back to the first one? How do we do it? Let's see. One by one. Is that a good idea? Yes, we have to start first in a gradual order, just to get a sense of what it is. Because we don't know the practice very much. But today you know, when you are to practice this Noble Eightfold Path, you should practice with 3 supportive factors. Sammaditthi should be practiced with Sammaditthi, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. Sankappa should be practiced with Sammaditthi, Samma Vayama, and Samma Sati. Now, when you say with the support of those 3, you have to work on the contents of that particular path factor. Let's say Samma Sankappa. What are the bad Sankappas? What are the good Sankappas? You have to first understand them. Sammaditthi will help you to find them out very well. Locate them. And then you are supported by, not you are supported, you have to use Samma Vayama to support yourself to carry on your journey. And then, but you are living as a normal person, so you don't know where to practice them. Samma Sati will help you. This is the time. I should not speak bad words. I should not have bad thoughts. It helps you to find out the problems. Figure out the problem. Samma Sati. So Samma Sati is not just a sitting practice then. See? The reason why Samma Sati is attached to each path factor is that every time you look at these whole aspects, you should be able to pick up the problem. How do you pick up the problem if you don't have a practice? So it is a 24/7 practice. When you talk, when you eat, when you drive, you have to use these three. Otherwise, you are only good for a couple hours. Once you wake up, you are in a total disaster. Right? That is not the Buddhist practice. That may be somebody else's practice. The Buddhist practice is, it's a 24/7 365 practice in a comfortable way. Not like very hard on it, very difficult practice. The Buddha said, my practice is not difficult practice. It is a happy practice. He wants to see people are happy by practicing it. Right? Not like I'm hard on my meditation, I'm hard on my Samma. No, you don't have to be hard. That is pain. That is Attakilamatana Yoga. Right? Okay, so one by one, you're going to start. Let's say you get started by one. Then you have come to a certain level of practice now. Let's say after a couple of months, let's say after 1 month, now you know what is Sammaditthi. You spot on. Right away you understand. You know what are the bad Sankappas. You know what are the bad words, bad speech. You know what are the bad actions. You know what are the bad ways of living. You know what are the bad ways of, effort. You know what is Samma Sati or Miccha Sati. You know what is Samma. Now, you are much better in your practice. Then what you can do, you can try practicing the whole thing together. Right? You could do that. Right? It's like you're trying to make a I would say a dish, but at a certain time when you are so much good at cooking, then you're gonna make a very big one together, But you don't do that at the beginning. You will mess up. You are wasting food, other people will blame you. What is this? You slowly work on each one first for some time. Then I can make these particular dishes very well. But one day, you think now you can do all these things. I'm going to try a different dish. It's going to work out because you know all these dishes and the taste and everything what other people told you when you made it. Something like that. This is not something like that, but this is higher than that kind of a thing. But I was trying to tell you the nature of that thing. Okay? Which one first? That is interesting. Someone might say, no, I start from Samma Sati. I will go to Samma Sankappa. Then I will go to Samma Vacha. How should we practice this? Where should we get started? We have to start from right view. Is right view very important? How important is right view? How important? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate? 10. You say that, nah? It's like a pain scale. Nah? It's most painful. All right. Right view is such important, the most important part of our spiritual life, our Dhamma journey, isn't it? Then why do people not talk about it that much? Why do they try to pick up different stuff? A lot. In the normal practice, why do they pick up other things? They can pick up, of course, no problem. Right view is what is telling us why we are engaged in the practice, our purpose of the practice. If somebody bypasses this point, then that practice has no purpose. It's like you practicing Sila without knowing the purpose of it. It's like you practicing meditation without knowing the purpose of it. The purpose of meditation is not just to relax. right? And you practice other stuff, samadhi, without knowing its purpose. The purpose is attached to the samadhi, right view. Another example, I think you all know about the Dasa Kusala, right? 10 Kusalas. 10, it's a very primary teaching that everybody's knowing. Not even the people who come to Sutta studies, I mean, everybody should know. What are they? Dasa Kusala, can somebody name me what they are? Dasa Kusala means 10 wholesome acts that we all should do all the time. What are they? There are some wholesome stuff for the body, some stuff for the speech, some for the mind. Okay, can we go one by one? Not killing, not stealing, not misbehaving in your sensual pleasures. Okay, these are for the body. You are creating wholesome activities through these three from the body. How about the speech? How many are there? 4. Why it is more than the body? A lot of people make a lot of akusalas through the speech. That's why. That is why it is 4. Right? They lie a lot. They talk behind the back a lot. They slander. They divide people behind the scene. Right? And they hurt other people a lot. In person, online. And they talk unnecessary stuff the whole day. Frivolous thing. So they are making a lot of akusalas through the speech. These are the 4. Not lying, not slandering, I'm not talking behind the back, not using hurtful words. These are culturally sensitive, event specific, time specific. And then not using frivolous speech. Then mind. What are the kusalas for the mind? Not being covetous, extreme greed, and then not having ill will, abhijja, no abhijja. What is abhijja? It's not abhijja. It's we call vyapada. Abhijja is not being covetous. Vyapada means, avyapada means not having ill will, thoughts of destroying other people. And then last one is micchaditya, the opposite of this. This is where I want to come. Micchaditti, wrong view. The Buddha says, Micchaditti bhikkhave paramang vajjani dissanti. Monks, I say, Micchaditti is the worst akusala. Now see the problem here. He says to the monks, because if you have Micchaditti, you are far more susceptible to do all the rest of the akusalas. You think killing is okay, Micchaditti, you kill. You think stealing is okay, you're gonna steal. You think sexual misconduct is okay, you're gonna break people's life, affairs and everything, relationships. You think lying is okay, you go do it, micchaditti. And you think dividing people is a fun, it's a fun thing, you know. You go do it. And you hurting other people with words is okay, you know, doesn't matter. What's going on? No problem. And you do it, micchaditti. All the rest of the akusalas happen because you have if you have micchaditti. That is why Buddha starts the path from samadhi, opposite of that micchaditti. Now see how important it is. How important is the samadhi. It's not just believing in karma and vipaka. It is such a very vast, expanded meaning that is embedded in the samadhi. So if you start your Noble Eightfold Path practice with a meditation, you are going to mess up. Why? You don't know why you meditate. That is the problem. It's a big problem. So every teacher who is teaching you meditation should tell you the purpose of your Satipatthana practice. Otherwise, it's a mess. And people are misguided. Alright, so start from the samadhi that you understand. What is samadhi? But I wanted to show you what is... I'm going to actually discuss that next Friday, but I'm going to show you that on the blog. Alright, see? Now the way how the normal people practice samadhi, the way how arahants practice samadhi. So these two sides, unenlightened and enlightened. So, Lokiya Lokuttara. So I will be teaching that. So don't take it as a big thing today. I just want to give you an overview of the Noble Eightfold Path. All right. So you start from Sammaditthi with the support of Sammaditthi, Sammavayama, and then Sammasati, and then slowly walk into the rest of the things. So once you have right view, you are going to practice Samma Sankappa. Why is it? Only when you have right view, in that right view mind, good thoughts, good intentions arise. Let's say that I'm trying to come up with good thoughts. How do I come up with good thoughts without I have a right view? What are the good thoughts, right thoughts? Avyapada thoughts, avihinsa thoughts. Then avyapada, nekkamma sankappa, that means thoughts about renunciation, thoughts about not killing, thoughts about not harassing other people, other beings. How do those thoughts arise in my mind? Without right view. Only when I have right view, I know I have to protect everybody, I have to respect everybody. That is right view. Only when I have it, those thoughts naturally come up. That is why a lot of people are asking, it's a struggle for me, I cannot come up with these good thoughts, because they don't have Sammaditthi. Nobody told that person, practice Sammaditthi first. Forget about rest of the things, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, all forget about. Start from Sammaditthi first. Then the rest will automatically appear very comfortably. Alright, so the practice is gradual, but once you come to a literal, contextual understanding of the 8 path factors, then only you can practice simultaneously more or less about these 8 path factors. In the Mahachattarisa Sutta, Buddha says something very interesting. Now this is what I want to quote here. He says, first 7 practices are requisites for the right samadhi. What does it mean now? Then again it is shown, it clearly says, it clearly demonstrates, you will not come to Samma Samadhi without the rest of the 7. See? The first 7 practices or factors are requisites for right samadhis. How does he say? Ariyang vo bhikkhave samma samadhing desissami. I am going to teach you what is the noble samadhi. Saupanisang saparikkarang, with requisites, with all the components. Tang sunata, monks, please listen to me. Sadhukam manasikarota basissang. I'm going to teach you. Here. Katamocha bhikkhave ariyo samma samadhi saupaniso saparikara. What is the samma samadhi? Noble concentration with its prerequisites. Say it idang samma ditti, samma sankappa, samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma ajiva, samma vaya, samma sati. Without these 7, you will never come to samma samadhi. Don't think about concentration. It will never come to you. This again exhibits, demonstrates that in order for you to come to the last stage, you must have these 7 prerequisites, one by one and at a certain level simultaneously. Then the Buddha says, unification of the mind, Samma Samadhi, equipped with these 7 factors is called noble right concentration with its supports and requisites. Alright. Okay. Then we come to another very important part. I think a lot of people do not understand very much. So I quote Chula Vedalla Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 44. This sutta is a conversation between a former husband of a lady, and she was a nun actually, Dhammadinna. The Visakha is the husband. So he comes to see his former wife, and then now there is a conversation happening. The conversation is about very interesting elements of the Noble Eightfold Path based on the Sila Samadhi Panya. Ariyo Panaye, Aye means, talking to a lady in a very respectful way. Attangiko maggo sankato udahu asankatoti. Translation is the Noble Eightfold Path fabricated or unfabricated? What is fabricated? These are very complicated translation actually. Fabricated. I would say it is sankata or asankata. That means, do people make sankharas while practicing it or not making sankharas? When you practice in the Noble Eightfold Path, are you still creating good karma or not? Yeah. You do. You're creating good karmas. Because you haven't still attained Nibbana, right? Sankhara means, Sankhara has different meanings in Buddhism. Let's talk about it. Sankhara. Sankhara. What are the contextual meanings of Sankhara? Now let's take the first one, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana analysis. What does Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara mean? These are the 5 aggregates. That is what we call a person, animal, being. There you see Sankhara. What is Sankhara in there? Karmas. Karmas. Mental action means karma, action, not action, but mental action, karmas. Because you should have karmas in order to create these 5 aggregates. Just because you have a rupa, body, just because you have feelings, just because you have perception, just because you have a consciousness, you cannot live. You should need karmas. Karmas in the past, karmas you are doing now, karmas for the future. Karma section of your life is sankhara in that context, under the 5 aggregates. Let's take another context of sankhara. Vaya dhamma sankhara appamadena sampadet. That is another context. What is this statement? The last word of the Buddha before he passed away. In the Malla state, Kusinara, he said to the monks, Vaya dhamma sankhara appamadena sampadet. There you see sankhara. What does that sankhara mean? Let's say the meaning, Vaya dhamma sankhara. All conditioned things are subject to changes. Conditioned things. Therefore, strive on with diligence, appamad. Conditioned things. Another meaning of sankhara. That means anything that was made by somebody else, something else. I'm a sankhara of my mom and dad. You are sankhara of your parents. This whole is a sankhara made of pataviya, puti, vayu elements. Everything here is sankhara. There's only one thing that is not sankhara in this world, in this universe. What is it? Huh? Nibbana. Nibbana is unconditioned. We all are conditioned. Right? We all are conditioned because we were made to be born by conditions. Even all our situations, somebody is going to talk bad about you, somebody is going to give you I would say compliment. They all are conditions. Some conditions made that thing to happen. Starting from us to inanimate stuff. Only unconditioned thing is Nibbana. So here, sankhara then in that context means conditioned phenomena. Now we know 2 contexts of sankhara. They are separately understood. Another meaning of sankhara?
Mental formations.
Pardon me?
Mental formations.
Mental formation. Can you mean a Pali word? Any Pali word to identify that? Mental formation is the one he said before, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is under the 5 aggregates. So the same thing. Another context of sankhara. Have you ever heard kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, mano sankhara? What is that? That's a different context. Kaya sankhara means assasa passasa. That means breathing in and breathing out is called kaya sankhara. In some suttas, when somebody asks, what is kaya sankhara? Bodily formations. What are bodily sankharas? When you breathe in, breathe out, they are bodily sankharas. Because your body has been made of those 2 things. Vachi sankhara, vitakka vichara. Your words come from vitakka and vichara. In Buddhism, if you ask somebody, how do my words being constructed? Because of vitakka and vichara. Vitakka means initial thought and the sustained thought. They 2 make up our words, good or bad words. So they are the vachi sankhara. My verbal constructs come from vitakka vichara. So constructs. Mental, verbal, physical constructs. And I think mano sankhara means sanya vedana, perception and then feeling. So that is another context. Are there any other contexts of sankhara? Now we talked about tree, yeah? Tree. Another context of sankhara. Have you ever heard punyabhi sankhara, Apunyabhi sankhara, aninjabhi sankhara. When you are doing good karmas, you are creating good sankhara. Let's say you come to the temple, you offer something to the monk, so punyabhi sankhara. Right? That sankhara is punyabhi sankhara. It's about the merit, demerit, that kind of context. And when you are doing a bad karma, apunyabhi sankhara. If you are a Brahma in the material world, Rupavachara or a material world, Arupavachara, their karmas are called Aninjabi Sankhara, little higher karmas. So this is the fourth context. If I keep talking about the list, it will keep going this way. Right? So Sankhara is such a complicated, it's not complicated, it has wider meanings. I would tell you, be careful when you pick up these words in the text, it's not carrying one meaning. Right? It is contextual. So here, now the Visakha asked from his former wife, now is a nun, is the path constructed or unconstructed? Conditional. The nun Visakha say, Dhammadina says, it is constructed for some people. Because unenlightened people, when they practice, it is definitely creating good karma. When you practice Sammaditi, you die one day with Sammaditi, definitely you must have created lots of good karma. So it is Sankhara. That is what here it says. Is the Noble Eightfold Path fabricated or unfabricated? Don't mind about the word, because fabricated is Sankhara. Unfabricated, Asankhara. Fabricated. And are the three aggregates of Sila, Samadhi, Panya included under the Noble Eightfold Path, lady, or is the Noble Eightfold Path included under the three aggregates? What does it mean? What is more important? Is Sila, Samadhi, Panya or Noble Eightfold Path construct? Actually, it's not just important. The way how we have to look at it. It is said that Noble Eightfold Path is rooted in the Sila, Samadhi, Panya practice. But little differently. That's the trick over here. Not the way you think. I'm going to explain that little after here. The three aggregates, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, are not included under the Noble Eightfold Path, friend Visakha, but the Noble Eightfold Path is included under the three aggregates. Now see, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, they come under Sila. And then Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi come under the Samadhi, and Samma Ditti and Samma Sankappa come under the Panya. Same thing, huh? Right view, right intention come under wisdom, Panya, and right speech, right action, right living come under Sila, and right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration come under concentration. But this is little tricky and very complicated to many people. Why is it? Because there is a cultural and informal understanding that you have to start the practice with Sila. But when you're looking at this flyer, the way how it was given, can you start with Sila? Can you start this practice, if you have to start from right view, can you start with Sila? Not exactly, not precisely. Then we have to understand how to particularly discern that part. Let's go down. This is something that we can talk about. Can we adopt the following approach to the order of practice? Panya, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. How come we can do Panya 2 times? Because Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, they come from Panya. But is it a high level of Panya that we can have through the Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa? No. Maybe a contextual and literal understanding of the some reading, some little reading of the Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa. You can know the path, but you are not at the heightened levels of Panya at that point. But you have to have a certain level of Panya to start the path. Then I would say, then not you starting from Sila, but you starting from certain level of Panya, wisdom. Then what will happen to you? Then you must practice Sila, Samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma ajiva. Then you are entering into samadhi. You should enter into, you should not end up anywhere. If you end up anywhere, you are lost in the path. Some people, they end up somewhere. They think, oh, I'm right speech, I'm okay now. So my path is okay. So then you get stuck over there. Maybe you practice a lot of mindfulness and you get stuck over there. You are not entering into samadhi, right? Then you will never come to the panya, high level of panya. So when you come to the samma samadhi, then again you need a perfect level of right view and perfect level of your right sankappas. That is the fruition, pinnacle of your path. So I would say panya, sila, samadhi, again panya. That is how we can see a framework of this Noble Eightfold Path. All right. Keep that in mind if you have a question later. And then the Buddha talks about the Noble Eightfold Path in many ways. Buddha says, I see a bad person, a worse person, a good person, even a better person. Bad person is someone who does not practice the Noble Eightfold Path. He or she has wrong view, wrong thought, and wrong micca path. And there's a worse person. Worse person is someone, not even they have the bad part, they are also motivating other people, instigating other people to do the same thing. I lie, you also lie. Right? I talk bad words, I hurt other people, why don't you join? Let's do the thing together, you know. They are worse people, actually. We call them not asappurisa, asappurisa tara. You see these Pali words? When someone does not practice the Noble Eightfold Path, we call that person asappurisa. Unwise person, bad person. But when someone does not practice, at the same time, trying to motivate other people into the same bad thing, we call it asappurisa tara, worse person. There are people who do that. And there's a good person, sappurisa, who practices the Noble Eightfold Path. And there's a better person, better than the good person. Not only he or she practices the path, he or she asks other people, motivates other people, persuades other people, hey, this is a good thing, why don't you practice, you know. But when you talk to other people, be careful, other people don't like to get persuaded by us in the right place, right? But if you are so friendly, so close to that person, right? Kalyana mittas, noble friends, then you can easily do this. That person is a better person, not just a good person. We call him not sappurisa, sappurisa tara. See this word, sappurisa tara. So I actually brought this up just to show you how we should do. Not even we practice, we have to, if we could, we have to motivate others, inspire others. So it's a good one. But when you do it, be careful. Do not, as I said earlier, try to offend other people. You know, brother, you can't do this. Sister, you can't do that. That's wrong. You know, don't go on that approach. You know, the people might be hurt. People will not come to you actually, because everyone thinks I'm good, I'm correct, I'm perfect. You know, so we have to slowly tell. You know, when they are opening up. You know. Those are cultural stuff. All right, any questions?
Bhante, I've been thinking, generally, human being tends to think that they are always right, or they are right most of the time. So my question is this now, if a person is ignorant, how does one know that this is a right view and this is a wrong view?
Yeah, that is why we need Kalyana Mittas. We need at least two Kalyana Mittas. We can never, this is very important to all of you, we can never practice this Noble Eightfold Path without Kalyana Mittas. I will tell you, one day, Bhante Ananda told the Buddha, half of this holy path, Dhamma journey, consists of the Kalyana Mitta. Half, 50% let's say. But no, do not say like that. Entire path consists of the Kalyana Mitta. Without the support of Kalyana Mittas, you are not able to practice it. Then how do we practice? How do we find out Kalyana Mittas? Who are they? Where are they living? The Buddha said, I am a Kalyana Mitra to all of you. Because of me, you learn, huh? Otherwise, you won't be able to learn anything here. You and I can't understand, you don't understand, right? Now, everyone here, everyone in this whole world, if they really want to practice, they have this Kalyana Mitra, the Shakyamuni Buddha. But you have to find at least somebody else, another one Kalyana Mitra. Who is a Kalyana Mitra? Someone who has more saddha than you. Someone who has more sila than you. Someone who has more chaga, generosity than you. Someone who has more wisdom than you. This is the Kalyana Mitra. But now you might find out, none of my friends are like that, huh? Should be the opposite. Right? Don't worry, don't treat them bad, do not offend them. Let's continue our life because we have different friends. You may have friends to go for yoga, go for eating, go for your other stuff. But for the spiritual journey, you should find somebody. You have to find. Those friends will not do anything for you. They are just high and by people, right? You should find that kind of person. Because when you know a person for long term, you know that, oh, this person has more trust, can understand anything with a good mind, clear mind. I don't have it. This person has more sila, I can feel it. I know this person for many years. This person is more generous than me. I'm a little stingy, a little greedy, and then this person is very wise. When something happens, when a problem arises, not like me, responds very properly, taking time. That is a Kalyana Mitra. Normally people think Kalyana Mitra is someone who chant together with you, who go to a Dhamma talk with you, who go to a retreat with you. This is the normal understanding. Yes, it is also okay. At least they come with you, But the real Kalyana Mitra is someone who has surpassed your saddha, surpassed your sila, surpassed your level of, compared to you, surpassed your level of chaga, generosity, surpassed your level of panya. The Buddha says, if you cannot find someone who is higher than all these four things, at least find someone who has equal saddha, sila, chaga, panya. That is where the Buddha said, if you want to start a relationship with somebody, you should find out someone who has equal trust, equal sila, equal chaga, equal panya. Sama saddha, sama sila, sama chaga, sama panya. But not somebody who is lower than you with saddha, sila, chaga, panya. You will be arguing every day, you will be running into problems. That person doesn't understand, you don't understand that person. It's not a good match. So, that is how someone understands that I really need a Kalyana Mitra. Because of that Kalyana Mitra, I am supported, I am motivated. Because we can't be self-motivated here. This is the problem. We can be self-motivated to a little extent. But then again, to practice this enormous path, we are not able to do it by just being self-motivated. We need motivation from other people.
Okay.
It's easy.
So that means that individual must have that desire and that want and that willingness of wanting to be better. That's on condition the person know that he's not good, he's bad.
I didn't hear this second part actually. What did you say?
Okay, basing on what you say, that means a person, in order to be able to cultivate or be able to acquire this right view and... Right?
I would say in a comfortable, proper, good way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that person, in the first place, must know that he has some weakness and setback that he's willing to rectify or correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, Kalyana Mitras should be very open-minded people.
So if that person is not even willing,
okay,
that means forever that person will not be able to cultivate this right view or practice this right view.
Yeah, the problem is if someone is not willing, that means that person doesn't want to start this practice. Right? That is a fundamental failure in that person's, if you look at it. So maybe it might be good for that person. But I think every person is different, to my understanding. We don't need to think that everyone should be persuaded right away. I don't think that way. Everyone is unique. Everyone's way of catching up the Dhamma should be separately looked at. There is a separate pace how they are going to learn. Even in a classroom, every student is not genius, bright student, right? Teacher cannot just go by the genius students. Teacher has to understand that everyone learns subjects at a certain different pace. So in the same way, I think if you have someone, if you have somebody who is not willing to listen, I think the first thing is that you have to work on is to make a way to open up for a conversation about this. Not trying to talk about these things. When that person is opening up, then only have a good discussion. Maybe one day, not soon. Yeah.
Unless something bad happened to them.
Yeah, unless something...
It happens to many people I've known, I've come across.
Yes.
That until something bad happened, then they start to realize, hey, what you say the other time is true. Nah? I've met people like that.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Everyone is different, so we have to be careful, and then we have to find a good, I would say, situation to talk about this stuff with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bhante, you mentioned there is two Kalyana Mitra. The first one is Sakyamuni. That's our teacher.
Sakyamuni Buddha. Yeah.
Sakyamuni Buddha. So can we consider all the venerables who have taught us the Dhamma? They are our Kalyana Mitra.
Yeah, they can be your inspiration.
We don't think just only our normal friend.
Yeah.
Because Kalyana Mitra seems to be like normal friend. So we should, because we are learning, we are in the learning path, so we should consider our teacher who taught us, who are higher Sada and maybe higher Sila than us, which is walking the path.
Yeah. But there is something to add. Now let's say the Shakyamuni Buddha has already passed away. He is not a living inspiration anymore. He is an inspiration to us, but not a living, like for unenlightened people like us, we should be able to work with somebody, talk to somebody, in this life. I think we should be able to find somebody like that also. Maybe you may go for, the Buddha says we should have at least 2 Kalyana Mitras, at least. The list can go over 2. Somebody, one of them should be somebody that you are always seeing, talking, hanging around, that kind of person too, if it is possible. Yeah. Venerables are not hanging around with you because they will teach you and then they will go back to their monastery. But what I am trying to say is, yes, they are also one of the Kalyana friends, but there should be somebody in your level, in your family bag, in your family circles, in your place where you do a lot of things. That is the place where you are mostly vulnerable to make kusala or akusala. Because the place where you are living, maybe your friends. Yeah, so I would say Shakyamuni Buddha is one, maybe a venerable, maybe third one should be somebody that you are with. Yeah, so at least in that level. Because otherwise we are not able to sort out anything, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
So someone who we are walking the path together.
Yeah, together, yeah. Maybe the wife, maybe the husband, maybe a good friend, right? Yeah, I mean, it could be like that, It could be. Maybe a good friend. All right, any questions?
Bhante, when you talk about the Panya, Sila, and then we have the Sila, then we have what? Samadhi, and then Panya again.
That is the way how we look at it now.
Yeah.
You don't exactly see that the Buddha says Panya, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Buddha says Panya, Sila, Samadhi, Panya in the list, but that is how we have to understand. Framework is that way. But the informal, the popular way is Sila, Samadhi, Panya. When you start with Sila, you don't know what to do with Sila. Yes, that is why we say that way.
Okay, and the first panya actually is mundane panya.
Well, I think it's just knowledge about what it is. Yes, I think we all have that thing to certainly more or less now. Yeah, probably a little deepening of that panya, that I need to know why I should practice this path, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And there is a mundane panya too, actually. In some suttas, I couldn't say this is mundane panya because this is a lokottara, supramundane thing, the highest teaching here. So probably it is just a literal and contextual reading of the whole path. Then you come to certain wise insights. Yeah. But it's not the deepening, or I would say it's not the provision, the pinnacle of the panya. That is reached only after you practice sila, panya, sila, samadhi, and then some levels of panya too. Yes.
Bhante, Pali word the samadhi, most of the people use as a so-called right view, but a lot of other they say is probably translation error by the right David, since the Pali text use it and continue until now. And some people they say maybe the right understanding could be the better word, because to understand the Dhamma first, then only can know what's the teaching, then only can know how to practice it. So what is your thinking on this?
Well, I think samadhi, well, literally it is ditti. In Buddhism actually opposes to any view. Buddhism is no view actually. I mean, say no view is the best view. No plan is the best plan. Isn't it? Sometimes when you plan, you do only in a certain way. It is not perfect. Not going to some levels. So in Buddhism, actually there is no view. Then why did the Buddha talk about a view? Just to show you, give you a framework. But at the end you understand this is also not a view, just to give you a guideline. So if I translate literally, yes, it's view, wholesome view. Wholesome view will come to you after a certain level of understanding, yes. Because ditti is attached to lobha. All the dittis are attached to lobha actually. It's a part of the greed. In Abhidhamma it says. In Abhidhamma it says ditti arises from lobha. Because let's say I think being bad to somebody is okay. That means I have a certain attachment, rationalization towards my bad thing. And then my thoughts come from that attachment. So I would say, just not to misconstrue people, it could be wholesome view. Wholesome view is a result of understanding too. Yeah. In order to understand something, you should have a framework, right? If I want to understand this mouse, I should have a framework, a way of looking at it, right? Otherwise, I can't understand, right? Yes, so I mean, we have a certain way, perspective, right? That perspective is the view. So Buddhism has no view, but Buddha says there's a wholesome view just to show people there's a certain framework you have to start. But at the end, there's no view. Views are all attachments. Political views, this view, that view, ultimately we are fighting each other. All views are issues.
Yeah, Bhante, for this so-called view, that's one sutta, maybe like so-called Brahmajala Sutta, that mentioning about
62 bad views. Yeah.
Wrong view, Micchā Ditthi. Yeah, should be based on that.
Well, Brahmajala Sutta is the first sutta of the Digha Nikaya, which says about 62 bad views. A lot of people had a lot of bad views, so Buddha simply explained them. Yeah. Then he said, Ditti is a problem. Ditti is like a desert. A lot of things. I think we are running out of the time over here. So, I am going to explain more about Ditti next Monday. So, today only it is an overview of the Noble Eightfold Path. Alright, so may all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today be transferred to all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of you. If the departed people were reborn in a place of dukkha, pain, may they be able to release from those places and then to be reborn in a place of happiness, kama sukati, and improving their life standards, finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.